The demons, Ozzy, Murim and Aziel, are likely loosely inspired by the Ars Goetia, also known as the Lesser Key of Solomon, which describes the existence of 72 different demons. Each demon holds a rank such as king, count, duke or marquis, and possesses a field of expertise, some skills or capabilities that they can bestow as a blessing onto the one who summoned them. These range from physical things such as granting invisibility to cognitive material such as knowledge about a certain scientific field. They may also have the ability to manipulate relationships between humans to turn enemies into friends. Each demon also has its own sigil, which is of fundamental importance to summon the demon into the conjurer's realm. This is where Little Goody Two Shoes turns it around and has the demon imprint a sigil onto Elise as a hex to summon her into their realm. Speaking of realm, each of the demons in the Ars Goetia has their own dominion. They may reside in hell, but they can also have their own dimension, which they can furnish as they please. This could also explain why Elise simply wanders into the woodland, but suddenly ends up in a completely outlandish environment that does not make any sense. As neither Murim's nor Aziel's domain have a hell-like appearance, it would be safe to assume that these are dimensions created by them, and the woodland merely provides a gateway to enter this dimension. The way this works may be displayed by Ozzy's domain, where Elise enters through an opening of a tree that serves as some type of portal that brings her to her past dreams of hers. Both Murim and Aziel take the shape of a golden animal. The secret tree of creation that leads towards Ozzy's domain also displays wealth and riches at its entrance. It is quite possible that these cues are tailored towards Elise's particular wish, which is wealth and fortune. This could simply imply that different people with different wishes might perceive the demons in a different manner. The leader of the demons is King Ozzy, a cycloptic being who takes the shape of a young boy. He can transform himself into a goat, which he uses to infiltrate Elise's house and fool Rosmarine into befriending him. Ozzy's main goal is to fool women into striking a deal with him by presenting himself as a benevolent spirit who can make any wish come true. While he is shown to be true to his word, as he always fulfills the wishes of his victims, he never tells them that as a prize he will devour the body and claim the soul. His modus operandi seems to be consistent. First, he invades a woman's dreams and shows her what she desires the most. Second, he presents a woman with a red pair of shoes which the woman must wear. These shoes likely serve as a hex that allow the woman to enter the demon's domain. Third, the woman must pass several trials to prove her determination. Finally, the woman must collect 3 gifts: the tender flesh, which represents her body, the sweetest nectar, which represents her blood, and the good company, which represents her heart. She must then put these items into a basket, which represents her womb, and sacrifice all 3 of the gifts at the night of the full moon to summon Ozzy. Ozzy will then propose a deal in which the woman has to pay him something in exchange for having her wish come true. However, in the end her soul and the good company which the woman sacrificed will become enslaved to Ozzy. It is unclear what the purpose of the trials are. Perhaps enduring the trials serves as a testament that a woman will not break the deal. While breaking the deal still appears to forsake the woman's soul, it can save the good company, meaning that in a broken deal, Ozzy will only claim 1 soul instead of 2. Throughout the story, Ozzy is shown to be extremely domineering as he takes control of the entire situation and essentially serves as a dungeon master who pulls all the strings and sets the events of the game into motion. He likely invaded Rosmarine's dreams to show her visions of Elise. This made Rosmarine believe that being with Elise is her purpose, which made her seek out Elise. That way, Rosmarine told Elise all about Ozzy and his blessing, unknowingly manipulating Elise into striking a deal with Ozzy in which Elise sacrificed Rosmarine and the soul of her daughter Golia in exchange for wealth. As a result, Ozzy was able to claim 3 souls at once. This displays Ozzy's ability to plan ahead and manipulate his victims into forsaking each other by instilling them with greed. While presenting himself as well-mannered to his victims at first, he tends to become short-tempered and merciless as soon as he knows he has control. Interestingly enough, all of his victims appear to be female, and after devouring their bodies, he chains the women to himself by turning them into golden maidens. The purpose of the golden maidens remains unclear, but it is likely that they serve as some kind of trophy. Ozzy also states that Elise has a very special fragrance which he enjoys especially. Whether the Golden Maidens remain as the exact same woman is uncertain, but they do retain some of their personality and memories. There seems to be a great divide between the maidens, where some of them enjoy being part of Ozzy's entourage, while others consider the deal to be a betrayal. This divide is exemplified by Elise and her grandmother. Elise herself deeply despised Ozzy for fooling her into sacrificing Rosemary and Golia. She even went so far as to try to outwit Ozzy by giving her daughter Golia the pocket mirror to protect her from Ozzy's clutches. Elise's grandmother, on the other hand, seemed almost indifferent to the danger Ozzy poses, and at her deathbed she even thanked him for granting her her only wish. The entrance to Ozzy's domain lies within the secret tree of creation, which lures its victims inside with visions of their greatest wish. Once the domain is entered, it turns into a hellish landscape filled with lava. While Ozzy's domain shares similarities with what one would consider to be hell, one of the Golden Maidens states that she's thankful for Ozzy as she can't go to hell due to being bound to him. This implies that Ozzy's domain is not the actual hell itself, but might be some form of pre-hell or purgatory. I could not identify an exact match between the demons in the Ars Goetia and the ones in Little Goody Two Shoes. However, there were some demons that have a distinct resemblance to Ozzy, Murim and Aziel. Ozzy might be the mixture of the two demons, Lucifuge and Satanachia. Lucifuge is the Prime Minister of Hell and a general of Lucifer. In exchange for Lucifuge's service, one must make a risky pact with him. This contract may involve the magician's soul and body being seized entirely by Lucifuge. Also, if the pact is broken, he won't hesitate to claim the magician's soul. Satanachia is another general of Lucifer. He holds absolute power over all women, having the ability to subjugate them and do with them whatever he pleases. This is due to his profound ability of mind control. The only woman who managed to resist him was notably Jeanne d'Arc. Her immunity made Satanachia obsessed with her, and he would haunt her in his attempt to drag her to hell. This draws a lot of parallels to Ozzy, who appears to be utterly obsessed with collecting women. He's also obsessively chasing Golia, who is the only one who is able to resist his grasp in an attempt to drag her to hell. However, his actual motivations remain a mystery. Him and the demons devouring the mortal body of his victims out of gluttony does not explain why he turns supposedly only women into Golden Maidens. There is not a single male golden character, yet Ozzy demands Elise's firstborn child without knowing its gender. Therefore, he does not seem to care about who he devours, but he only cares about keeping the souls of women. He also seems to keep the maidens close to himself, as a lot of them can be found directly outside of his domain as well as his bankhead. Interestingly enough, the Golden Maidens can apparently move freely, at least to a limited degree. They can be found all over Kieferberg, in the woodland, as well as spread across Murim's and Aziel's domains. One maiden states that she resides mostly in Aziel's domain, as Ozzy rarely seems to visit this place, making it calm and quiet. Given that Ozzy likes to throw fancy banquets where he surrounds himself with his entourage, and that he avoids Aziel's domain, which is cold, dark and gloomy and quiet, we can assume that Ozzy is a lively individual who doesn't enjoy being by himself. This could also be reflected by his obsession of collecting Golden Maidens. As they are essentially enslaved and chained to him, they may simply serve as a purpose of Ozzy to not be alone. Could be indicative of Ozzy having a fear of abandonment, and the maidens are more or less a mental harem that soothes his mind. He also seems to be infatuated with the red shoes he gives to every woman. It is implied that these shoes may serve as a hex that will lead a woman's way to Ozzy, and perhaps they are also the reason why they can enter Ozzy's domain and the other demons' domains to begin with. The purpose of the gifts that a woman must collect may also be more of instrumental nature rather than pleasantries. The collection of the tender flesh, the sweetest nectar, and a good company awfully sounds like a demonic ritual. The good company, however, is particularly interesting as it is unclear what constitutes a good company. It is only mentioned as the object of one's greatest affection, which leaves a lot to interpretation. That means a good company might also be an animal such as a dog. As one of Ozzy's marquises, Murim takes the shape of a golden crow with red eyes, but he can also turn into a humanoid figure. Murim is the first demon Elise talks to, and he is in charge of the ceramic grove of wheat. Elise must traverse his domain to attain the wheat testament and the strand of her own hair, both of which are later baked into the tender flesh. Murim is usually followed by a murder of crows that mimic his actions. Mimicry appears to be a recurring theme, as the crows tend to repeat the same sentences over and over. This is likely to mock Elise, as she follows the footsteps of all the other women who have done the same trials before her, thus she mimics their actions. Murim himself is shown to be not very talk-active, as he never stays put for long conversations. He is, however, very observant, as he managed to understand Father Hans's plot. Father Hans tried to steal horses from Kieferberg and the surrounding villages to sacrifice them in an attempt to summon the witch Walpurga. Murim was able to intercept the sacrifices and turn the horses into twisted abominations, which he used to guard his domain, making it harder for Elise to traverse the ceramic grove of wheat, as she was constantly attacked by demonic horses. Murim's domain represents a barren wasteland with a bright full moon shining in the distance. Even though the land seems to be bleak, he still manages to grow wheat on this soil. This likely serves as an insult to the witch Walpurga. Walpurga once ruled over the woodland, but the demons took her domain away from her and did with the land as they pleased. Unlike Ozzy, Walpurga herself was unable to create life, meaning she wasn't fertile. Murim displaying his ability to grow wheat on this unfertile soil serves as a gut punch to Walpurga, reminding her of her own inability to bear life. Murim is rather reminiscent of Raum, a great Earl of Hell. Raum is presented as a crow, though he can take human shape if he's asked to. He can be considered one of the more mischievous demons, as he's taken a liking into anything shiny, and is known to be stealing valuables, such as rings from kings. He also loves to listen into the conversation of others to look out for opportunities which he can exploit to his own advantage. This characterizes Murim and his crows rather well, who were also shown to have an eye for shiny valuables and did not shy away from trying to fool Elise into giving them her brooch. Murim also noticed that Father Hans was trying to sacrifice Kieferberg's horses to the witch Walpurga in an attempt to summon her, so he stole the horses and used them to hunt down Walpurga while she was dressed up as Rosmarine in his realm. Aziel takes the shape of a golden snake, but just like the other two demons, she can take a humanoid form as well. Aziel herself could not be any more different from Murim. This can already be seen by the way their domains are laid out. While Murim's domain is bright, barren and filled with noisy crows, Aziel's domain is dark, gloomy, quiet, but flourishing with fauna. She also seems to have a more refined taste than Murim, as the constructs of her domain are built with porcelain rather than Murim's ceramic. Their differences are also displayed in their behavior. Murim has no problem with taking center stage. He shows himself and his crows openly, but avoids prolonged conversations. Aziel, on the other hand, prefers to stay in the shadows. Most of the time she can't even be seen when talking to Elise. Instead she hides or uses a masquerade to converse through. Her words are usually focused on persuading Elise to drop her inhibitions and morals and to move on with her wish. This behavior makes her reminiscent of the serpent in the Garden Eden, which convinces Evie to eat an apple of the forbidden tree. When Elise obtains the Needle Testament, Aziel tells her that she wants to show Elise what her being and purpose is. Afterwards a sequence plays out that says, "My toxic passion now adorns your dream, for this a sign of respect shall be entrusted to you." This implies that Aziel is the embodiment of greed, and her venom are her words which she uses to inject thoughts of lavishness and gluttony into Elise. She is seen 3 times persuading Elise to lower her inhibitions. First, when she convinces Elise to overcome her fear and prick her finger onto the needle, which showed Aziel that Elise is willing to hurt herself to obtain her wish. The second time, when Elise doubts whether Ozzy can truly fulfill her wish. Aziel stirs her up against Kieferberg until Elise admits that she would leave everything and everyone behind to obtain her wish. And the last time, when Aziel tests Elise's love for Rosmarine, forcing her to be honest to herself. The 2 elements that recur frequently in Aziel's domain are the moon and reflection. The moon appears to play a particularly important role, as it always is the night of the full moon on which Ozzy can be summoned. Both in Murim's and Aziel's domains, one can see the moon in the distance. However, while Murim's domain always displays a full moon, Aziel's domain only shows a crescent. The moon also serves as a map that needs to be used to solve the puzzle in the lagoon. In the center of the lagoon is a stone slab which provides further insight. It reads, "On this fateful moon I've traded my humanity for a chance for fortune. On the dark side of the moon I await its return." Humanity may refer to Elise lowering her inhibitions and throwing away everything she cared about to fulfill her wish. 3 statues that propose a riddle for Elise give further insight into the nature of Aziel's domain. The first statue says that Elise should pour all her passion into the 6 vessels so that she may drown in his allure at the peak of luminescence. It would seem that a full moon is a representation of Ozzy, as he can only be summoned on a full moon, and meeting him is the final destination of Elise, just as the full moon is the finish of the first moon cycle. The allure refers to Ozzy's ability to make any wish come true, and Elise drowning in it resembles her blindly chasing her dream, becoming increasingly inconsiderate of everything around her. The 6 vessels may refer to the 3 gifts, the 2 testaments, and the shoes. Elise pouring her passion, or in this case her wish, into obtaining the gifts drowns her in Ozzy's allure, so that she may finally receive her wish on the night of the full moon. The second statue says that they eternally drown in rushing waters, forced to stay in limbo as they stare upon the moon's crescent. The crescent he is talking about is the waxing crescent, which is the first phase of the full moon after the new moon. The waxing crescent is also displayed in the distance in Aziel's domain. This may refer to Elise's desire as she chases for her wish. Staring at the moon's crescent, she eagerly awaits the full moon's arrival, which will make her wish come true. Finally, the last statue says that one's path is nothing but a reflection of one's ungodliness, and only in the embrace of the full moon may one purify their sins. Given that Elise constantly steps over water, her reflections everywhere she goes as she ventures through Aziel's domain. Furthermore, later when Elise stares at her reflection in Aziel's burrow, she is consumed by greed, fully disregarding any kind of danger. When Elise is pulled into the pond by Aziel, Elise finds herself underwater in a desolated Kieferberg. This may reflect Elise's perception of how she sees Kieferberg as a rundown and broken village where she doesn't have a future. This may also be represented when the well in Kieferberg is blocked and the serpent shoots out from the well, in a sense that the well is running dry as the rushing waters of Valor have come to a standstill in Kieferberg. Aziel is reminiscent of Botis, who holds the rank of Count and President and takes on the shape of a viper, though he can also take a human shape. Botis is carrying a large sword shaped like a serpent, that he can extend at a high speed to impale his victims, similar to the strike of a viper.